So we're going to look at what's really happening on the ground. Ground truth in Ukraine. Today is Wednesday, November 26, 2025. And we're going to look at what happened last night and the night before, follow up from the night before, and then we'll look at what's going on the battlefield. So let's start here. Romanian authorities now reveal that 2 drones entered and remained in Romania's airspace for over 3 hours, not last night, but the night before with that big attack with almost 500 drones and missiles crossing multiple counties before one reportedly crashed. Okay, so it came in through here. This is the bottom of Ukraine. Here is Moldova, and here is Romania. And so it came through here and passed through Tbilisi and Galat. Galat, I've actually been to Galat. That's where I did that stupid thing where I tried to dip my foot in the Danube and almost lost my shoe in the mud, and then all the way up here. So, and of course, nothing, I haven't even seen Romania complain about it. Like, that's where we are now. It can cross into NATO's airspace and nothing even is said. Okay, living with war, Romanian villagers lie low as Russian drones buzz overhead. Yeah, so this was actually happening. Like, that's right across from Ukraine in Romania. And okay, Russian city in Novorossiysk Russians in the city of Novorossiysk aren't happy today after faulty Russian air defenses destroyed several homes. Yeah, remember I was showing you that video of all the air defense? Well, I mean, they're just, those bullets have to land somewhere, right? And, well, yeah. Here is a satellite image released by Radio Sabova confirming the destruction of the AN-60. And what they're saying is that Il-76, it's either an Il-76 or Il-100. I'm not sure which it is, but it's whatever it is, you can see these two things are destroyed. So that's from not last night, but the night before. Here's last night. Russian Telegram channels report a drone attack on Russian Research Institute of Refraction Engineering in Cheboksary, Russia. The Research Institute produces, among other electronics, anti-electronic warfare antennas for the Russian army. So that's what's happening here last night. And you can see where this was on the map, how far things are. This is Ukraine's unmanned systems forces confirm a deep strike on Russia's VNIIR progress plant in Chvolsia with Kometa navigation modules and caliber Iskander, Shahed drones, and guided bombs. And we see some more of this, and it was a pretty big explosion. From the sound of this, it's no longer happy fun time. So just listen to this as these missiles are coming in, or drones are coming in. You're just going to listen. This is in Russia. Drones and missiles. That's fear, not hurt, it looks like, but it's still like the war is just coming home to them. Okay, additional Ukrainian drones struck the command post of Russia's 58th Army in Veleskiva, a Tur M1 in Mariupol, brigade-level ammo depots in Ocheretny and Kamnika, and Russian personnel concentration on the Pokrovsk front. So there was a lot that was going on last night. Okay, what was Russia doing to Ukraine last night? Ukraine's air defenses shot down or suppressed 72 drones overnight out of the 90 that were launched. So strikes hit 10 locations. While Russia is negotiating peace, Zaporizhzhia is being presented with a 28-point peace plan right now that looks like, well, this. It's just devastating what they're doing to civilian apartment buildings. At least 19 civilians were injured as Russian strike rippled through residential district in Zaporizhzhia, obliterating more than 30 apartment blocks and 20 private homes. Rescue crews are still scrambling through the devastation. Battlefield. Let's look at the battlefield. 980 Russians off the battlefield, a little bit lower than the average of 1,000. 4 tanks, 1 armored fighting vehicle, 44 artillery systems. Look at this, 124 vehicles and fuel tanks. That number is higher, and it's unusual that number is that high. But again, these numbers tend to be correlated. The lower number here and the higher number here. It's a very strange thing. Record number of drone strikes and interceptions. Previous record was October 31st. So here we're going back to talking about what was going on here. Not yesterday, the day before, 486 missiles and drones. And there was a 93% shoot down rate overall, 94 point something percent for the drones themselves. Okay, let's look at what's going on or happening in Pokrovsk and Mirnograd. This is really what we want to focus on here because that's the focus of the Russians right now. Russia's pushing toward Mirnograd, that's Pokrovsk's sister city, around the clock, trying to cut its land link into Pokrovsk. Ukraine's 7th Air Assault Corps warns Russian forces are advancing on the villages of Rivne and Zvilty in an attempt to encircle the city. Small infantry groups are infiltrating in the northern part of Mirnograd continuously using drones to guide their movement. Ukrainian assault units are holding the line, but Mirnograd, which is actually doing much better than Pokrovsk itself, is still looking okay. Captured Russian soldiers said that they spent 4 days in a basement without food or water before their assault on Mirnograd. It's probably not the best way of prepping you for battle. 3 were former prisoners recruited through military contracts. Ukraine's 38th Marine Brigade captured the 4 mid-assault on Donetsk Oblast city just north of Pokrovsk. So, yeah. I mean, it just seems like the commanders don't even care whether they live or die. It's remarkable to watch. Okay, Russia launched a new offensive wave toward Dobropilya just as the U.S.-mediated peace talks were set to begin. Attacks in several directions. Dobropilya, by the way, is the bunny ears part of the map, if you recall. Circlement plans against Pokrovsk, Mirnograd, and Konstantinivka. Okay, so we know that that's like Pokrovsk is the place of the battlefield that the Russians want the most. This is the ISW yesterday. The situation in Pokrovsk direction remains serious and dynamic as Russian forces continue to leverage their new offensive template. That the new offensive template is harassment, interdiction with drones in the rear, and send in these 2- and 3-man teams and just send enough in that they start to build some mass and momentum. To leverage their new offensive template to seize Pokrovsk and encircle Ukrainian forces in Mirnograd east of Pokrovsk. The Ukrainian deputy battalion commander operating in the Pokrovsk direction told Ukrainska Pravda that Russian forces have brought tanks and mortars into Pokrovsk since November 19th, indicating that Russian forces have been able to deploy heavy equipment into Pokrovsk despite Ukrainian interdiction efforts. I don't like the sound of that, but I don't think that those tanks and heavy equipment are going to last all that long given, well, drones. Okay. The other place that we want to pay attention to is Huliopol. Huliopol direction, Zaporizhzhia region. The Russians attacked positions of Ukrainian defenders 19 times. The amount of attacks here is interesting because it's almost half of what it is in Pokrovsk. So these are the 2 important places on the battle, or 2 most important places on the battlefield. Ukrainian drone operators wiped out a Russian assault group in Zaporizhzhia after spotting a tank-led column forming in fog. Again, fog is going to be a great defense. Russia attacked with tanks, LBs, and 6 Ulan vehicles near Vorobe, but was caught completely off guard by Ukrainian FPVs. Ukrainian border guards hit Russian positions on the northern, I don't know how to pronounce that, and Kursk directions. Drone crews from the Aquila UAV unit destroyed 5 enemy shelters, 2 antennas, 2 vehicles in a single day. And so we see that with the FPV drone footage here. And then we see other FPV drone footage that's really remarkable as well. Pilots from the 3rd Army Corps destroyed a Russian TOS-1A flamethrower system. We see this. This is interesting. This is really, really interesting. Signum drone operators clear the building of Russian infantry from the inside during the nighttime using FPV thermal cameras. So they're going into a dark building and these guys are just sleeping because, I mean, hey, they're safe. It's dark. Nobody can see anything. Well, the FPV drones can still see you because thermal imaging cameras, and they can fly around and do this kind of thing. It's pretty incredible what FPV drones can do. Sergei Stanenko, he is one of the greatest fundraisers of all these drones in Ukraine. And this is loyal opposition, what he's saying here. Military personnel are increasingly speaking publicly about the need for army reform. They really do need to reform the system. They do need to make sure that they have enough soldiers and that they're utilizing them correctly. Ignoring them means ignoring common sense. Enough of deluding ourselves. Russia will not go for any ceasefire now. For our state not to cease to exist, fast, immediate, and fundamental changes in the military are needed. Every day of delay costs us too much. I call on everyone to talk about this. Silence in this case is a crime. It's loyal opposition. He wants Ukraine to succeed, but there are certain things that need to be worked out. Among them are things like making sure you have enough recruits going into the pipeline, and then that you're not misspending them when you send them into battle. The big story right now is the political thing, the 28-point plan, which was reduced to a 19 plan, the European 24-point plan, which is kind of a non-starter because it's not going to go anywhere with Russia. And in the 28-point plan, what Russia wanted to do was have Ukraine give away all this area, including these fortress belt regions. Just give that away to Russia, and then they'll put it into law that they won't go any further. Sure, they won't, right? But that's not going to happen. Okay, Putin is now seriously considering raising taxes because he has to do something because they're in kind of a mess economically. I just put this thing out yesterday about how bad they are economically. And anyway, at any rate, Putin is now seriously considering raising taxes after the recent U.S. sanctions against Russian oil companies. NATO Secretary Mark Rutte said, I quote, "I was a politician and I know the very last thing that you want to do is raise taxes because it's unpopular with voters." Rutte also said that the sanctions against Lukoil and Rosneft are already having a major impact. I believe that is true. They are already having a major impact on Russia. But Russia's going to keep going. This is in defense news. Russia will try NATO regardless of Ukraine's peace deal, experts warn. Listen to this quote, "You might not choose to have a war with the Russians, but the Russians are certainly choosing to prepare to conduct a war against you," unquote. George Barros, lead analyst on Russia and geospatial intelligence at the Institute for the Study of War, said during a panel on Defending the Baltics 2025 conference, quote, "We're watching every day how they're preparing their economy, operational concepts, and their military thinking about the next war," unquote. One more paragraph. Last month, the Ukrainian open source intelligence organization Frontelligence Insight published internal documents from Russia tank manufacturer Ultra Ganzavod that reportedly included the goal of increasing T-90 battle tank production by 80% by 2028. So the Russians aren't going anywhere. And more evidence of this kind of thing, luring potential recruits with promises of safe work and construction and other non-military employment. Russia has increased the marketing operations to con citizens of impoverished countries into the Russian army by 700% in the last year. Now it's not a lot, but 700% is a pretty big jump. Once lured into Russia, recruits sign contracts into Russia that they cannot read. Then they're shipped off to 2 weeks of training before they're sent to the front. What's interesting is that the list of targeted nations mirrors the list of countries from which Russia also runs its troll factories. Poverty is an integral part of Putin's war machine. So, yep, they're recruiting foreigners and they're going to keep going. And they're also doing this. Russia's domestic propaganda push to create more soldiers is now the government's main push. Now, this is commentary. This isn't a bill or anything. But Jane Keefe says the way this is going, women will be required to produce children upon turning 18. Now, there's no bill or legislation or anything like that. But look, Valentina Matviyenko urged women to have children immediately after reaching adulthood. According to the chairman of the Federation Council, a person with strong family and children should be considered successful in society. They're not doing it for the reasons that I have a lot of children, right? I mean, they're not doing it for the reasons that I'm doing it. Like, I think life is a precious gift and it's a blessing, but they're doing it because 20 years from now, they're going to have a huge army if they do this. So that's what's going on in Russia. Also going on in Russia, life in Russia, Ural Airlines flight attendant was sentenced to 7 years in prison for a message that she posted in a village chat room. She alleged that Russian troops were committing violence against Ukrainian civilians, which is undoubtedly true. She was ultimately convicted of military fakes and 7 years in prison for doing that. That's what's happening in Russia today. All right, last thing I'm going to post here is this two photos from some 85 years apart. 1940, Londoners huddled together in the underground while Nazis bombed them, and then that's the top. And then today, not today, but in 2025 in Kyiv. That's what's happening because of the Russians. All right, my friends, that's all that I have. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the likes, the shares, and the subscribes. My next video is going to be about what just happened with this really interesting thing with the recording that linked with Shakov. And wow, it's a whole diplomatic mess, but I think there's a bigger story even behind that. It's not just a leak, there's something to the leak, and you'll see it next. Stick around. Thank you for your time, the likes, the shares, and the subscribes, and thank you for being the kind of person who cares about Ukraine.